We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel, ring the notification bell, smash the like button, share the video. And if you want to support this college football rebel outpost with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Thank you for joining us. It is Friday, January 30th, and Big Ten bad boys. Now, I did not want to use nasty boys, right? I don't know if I would have gotten in trouble. I don't know if I would have gotten dinged. I don't know what happens. So I use bad boys, and that still, I think everybody understands the connotation on that. Big Ten bad boys, a lot of people angry at the Big Ten. A lot of people angry, a lot of college football reporters. They basically are in unison. Sankey took a little bit of an elbow earlier this week from Pat Forte. A little elbow. It was an elbow thrown that had a big old elbow pad on it. It was a soft blow. But the great Brett McMurphy comes out yesterday and writes an article that kind of sort of blasts the SEC and the Big Ten, but kind of sort of doesn't, right? He talks about how the SEC and the Big Ten, how they've got this power, and they did not use it. They could not compromise. The egos got in the way. They're being selfish. But then he goes on to say, well, that everybody agrees with the Southeastern Conference. So basically he's saying, why didn't the Big Ten bend the knee? The great Brett McMurphy, right? But does everybody disagree with the Big Ten? See, I don't think so. I don't think that's true at all. Now, maybe all the college football reporters disagree with the Big Ten on a 2014 playoff. But then they basically all disagreed to go into an 18 playoff or a 12-team playoff. They wanted to keep it at a 4-team playoff. They're so upset with the Big Ten when they flirted, when they almost scored the touchdown on the UC public investment deal. They got bitterly angry with the Big Ten. I do agree. The Big Ten are the bad boys of college football now. They are Darth Vader now. They are a minority, a strong minority, but a minority. Remember, the Big Ten did not get their way when it came to the spring portal. They wanted the portal to be in the spring, not in January. The Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC all disagreed with the Big Ten on that. The Big Ten has become the minority, just so happens to be a very strong minority. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Big Ten, and I get it, people disagree with me on Brett McMurphy. I'm going to call him the great Brett McMurphy because I think I've disagreed with him before. I've disagreed with everybody before, but I think he's had an outstanding career as a college football reporter. So I call Brett McMurphy the great Brett McMurphy, the great Pete Thamel, the great Matt Baker. And I think there's one more on the list that I can't remember. There is a couple of things going on here. One is, I think, well, first of all, and Brett McMurphy said this on 365 Sports with Smoke. He said basically, if you want to get Greg Sankey on record or off the record on anything, he's available. Silent Tony, David Smoke called him the silent assassin. We call him Silent Tony. We coined that phrase here at PATC. They're not able to get on the phone with Tony Petitti. They're not able to get on the phone with him. And I used to dig at Tony Petitti because of that. I used to give him my own elbows on that. Now I don't give him all that much grief because I'm starting to understand why he doesn't talk. I think he should. Overall, I think he should. But I'm starting to understand his position on that more and more. That's one issue that the college football reporters have. The other issue is the Big Ten is the entity that doesn't have to that does not have to, how do I say this? They do not have to bow their heads to ESPN. Now, a lot of these college football reporters are not a part of the ESPN family. Some of them don't like the ESPN because they used to be former employees of ESPN. But still, in the large college football landscape where ESPN is the strongest, most valuable media partner, they put out the most content, they have a lot of people getting paid a lot of money to put out their propaganda, put out their thoughts. The Big Ten just doesn't have to go along to get along with ESPN. And that makes the Big Ten seem to be alone in a corner. I don't think they are. I'll get back to that more later. I don't think they are. But they're the one entity that can voice something different outside of the ESPN echo chamber. ACC really can't do that. Big 12, they're not doing it. They're not doing it. There's also another reason. There is also another reason why the college football, the chatter behind the curtain, basically considers the Big Ten the bad boys of college football. Not nasty boys, but bad boys of college football. And I don't want to, I will get into the reason why later in the back half of this monologue. And we're going to get to it pretty quick. We're going to get to it. This is going to be a pretty simple show today. A pretty simple show. All right? I want to drop you a little bit of, I want to drop you all a little bit of a nugget of a little bit of an information that we got heading toward the spring here. We don't have it. Something was told to us. It's very interesting about April and March. And I think we're going to be hearing something really soon on that in public. We've heard something in private. I'm going to put it out there for you all right now at the beginning of this live show. And then we're going to get into Brett McMurphy's article, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. And I'm going to give you this one more big reason why the Big Ten are the bad boys of college football. Holy smokes. Look at this massive super chat. Mr. Hoosier with the $100 super chat. My goodness, I hear you needed new lights for the stage. Still want UConn in the Big Ten. I don't know if I need new lights. I think I need a new microphone. One that can change my voice, my singing voice, and make it appear to sound better than it is. But possibly I need new lights. Possibly I need new lights to make myself look better as well. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. Thank you, Mr. Hoosier. Thank you for your incredible super chat. Thank you for all your support you have given us. Last year during Indiana's Big Ten championship run and the national championship run, in this year already in 2026. Thank you very kind, sir, Ricky Tungate. My goodness. Thank you, sir. I don't know how else to, I do not know how else to say thank you. Massive super chat. And then we got Bill G. Once again, the incredible, edible Bill G. 5 gifted memberships. Once again, Tuffy Duffy, mowing after dark. Oh no, the Buckeyes got a membership. The Buckeyes got a membership. Mark Bowman, Joe Peck, Dabney Offerman. He's been having some really good comments in the chat room. Thank you for that, Bill G. The 5 people that I just mentioned. All of you are knighted, along with the incredible Bill G. All of you are knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. Thank you so much. That means you are a member of the family. You are a member of the show. You can go to our library of episodes, watch them all, including members only early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes. If I would have had time today, and I did not, if I would have had time today, I would have dropped another episode to talk about what I'm about to talk about right now. In our early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes for members only, we talk about information that I'm going to bring on later in the next live show. You all get the early peek. Members get the early peek. This time I did not have enough time. But anyways, we're going to get to that in a second. Bill G, thank you so very much for your incredible generosity. And Ricky Tungate, thank you so much for your incredible generosity once again. Thank you very much. UConn in the Big Ten ain't going to happen, but maybe UConn possibly in the ACC or in the Big 12. Question, Greg, why does McMurphy have it off of the Big Ten so much? Well, we're going to go through that. We're going to go through his article. Now, McMurphy does land some shots against the SEC, and you know, but a lot of I like Brett McMurphy. I think he does a very good job. I think there is biasness in everyone. I have biasness. I do. I don't really, I'm going to be honest with you. I try to hold this. I do not try to be so transparent. I do consider the Badgers and the Hawkeyes a little bit extra evil than the rest of your teams. I know that's breaking news. And I don't know. I mean, Brett McMurphy and all these guys, maybe, they did not grow up watching. They're not Big Ten people. They did not go to Big Ten universities. A lot of them did not. Adam Rittenberg did. There's a few of them out there. Scott Dochterman, Iowa. But most of the national college football reporters are from the South or from the Mid-South or from even out in West Coast. And there are some in the Midwest, but they're not really involved with ESPN, and they're not really involved with On3, if you've noticed. But I think Brett McMurphy does a great job. And I don't know. I don't think he likes, just my opinion, I don't think he likes Tony Petitti. And a lot of these guys do not like that Tony Petitti is silent, which I completely understand. And they're ragging on his 2014 playoffs. All of them. Like, not one of them will say, wait a second, let's see if this would work. Not one of them. But there is another reason. There is another reason. And we're going to get to it at the back end of the monologue. Tough Tony, Greg, I'd like to see more Wisconsin biasness. Dochterman is the best. Okay, let's do a quick roll call here. Kay Struthers is in the house. Don Scruggs, Bruce Harris, Rod, Christopher Huda, Bruce Harris, Outlaw Skis, Amac, Tough Tony. Tough Tony is in the house. Jan Ooze is here. Nebraska, Penn State Wrestling, BYU Football, the Buckeye, Caleb Ramirez, Free Belichick, Preston from North Carolina, Greensboro, Free Belichick. My goodness. I don't even know how that happens. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If I've ever seen a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's it. I do not understand it. I don't care. Yeah, he cheated. And he should get his hand slapped. And they did get... Look, I'm gonna tell you my philosophy on this. If you cheat, you should get punished. You all know that. At the time that it happened, or after the time, after you get caught, after the evidence, whatever. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, and a lot of you are going to yell at me. That's fine. That's what I'm here for. It's what you did in between the lines. I don't care if you took a bunch of steroids. If baseball allowed you to take steroids, if they did not test it enough, if they did not give you the punishment enough, whatever you did on the baseball field, if you were one of the best players in that era, you should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I'm okay with a plaque that says Barry Bonds. By the way, he finally was tested positive for steroids. But whatever. If there's a plaque hanging there that says something about steroids, go ahead and do that. But Barry Bonds is a Hall of Fame player. Bill Belichick, deflated football, whatever it is, binoculars up in the stands, whatever it is. He cheated, he get caught, he should be punished. And if that punishment was big enough for him to lose games, but what he did as a head coach, and he was one of the best. Tom Brady, if you want to give all the credit to Tom Brady, okay, but come on. Bill Belichick, that is a Hall of Fame career. Pete Rose should be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I know he could have hurt baseball a lot. He could have damaged the sport. Baseball has damaged baseball way more than Pete Rose ever did. Pete Rose, over 4,000 hits. I grew up in the Pete Rose era. That man was the highest level competitor in the 70s, in the late 60s, and in the 80s with the Philadelphia. That guy, he was baseball. And he did some stupid things. He got an addiction on gambling, whatever you want to call it, put it on the plaque, but he's got to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know why I got up on my soapbox, but this Bill Belichick thing, he's a Hall of Famer. Of course he's a Hall of Famer. What are we doing? Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer. I'm a Hall of Famer of box hockey. Back in 1976, I won the Sanborn Box Hockey Championship in Sanborn Park, Robbinsdale. But I digress. Anyways, you guys got me going already. Dave's here is in the house. Karan Shakar is in the house. Somebody please take AI away from Greg. Look, I did a little bit of investigation. I asked Moen. He gave me a place to go to. And I don't know. It's another creative outlook. It's another creative. I get to scratch my creative itch again. I'm not going to. There is going to time where I'm going to slow it down now. But there's thoughts running through my head constantly of how I want to display what is going on in college football. And some of that, I hope most of it you guys are catching on to it. A lot of college football fans would see that artwork and say that doesn't make any sense. But I think the PATC family, I think you guys have learned to understand me. Not that that's a good thing. But I think you guys understand, Anyways, hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Greg will be moonwalking to the refrigerator later. Correct. MBM Pokes is in the house. He's still mad at me because I've got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Number 22 in my way too early. Picks, rankings. MBM does not like that. He does not like that at all. Daniel Gorby's in the house. Daniel Gorby is here. Christopher Hooter, LSU Tiger. He actually agrees with me. My goodness. We got a massive super chat. Mowing After Dark. Holy smokes. I don't know how to take this, actually. You need a soundboard with a harmonizer, Greg. Crank up the bass and sing like Barry White. Well, Bowen, there was a time where I was almost like a bass singer, but then for whatever reason, my hormones, something went on later in my life, and now I sing more like a baritone, even getting up to a little bit of a tenor, so I don't sound like Barry White anymore. Moen's After Dark has picked up on that. He has picked up on my hormonal changes. Oh my God! Oh my God! Thank you for the wonderful super chat, Moen. You did not have to do that. My goodness. Massive, massive super chat. He wants me to sound better on my singing, which he goes along with 99% of the PATC family. But no matter what I sound like, we are not going to quit singing on this National College Football YouTube channel. We are not going to quit singing. PATC renditions will continue on. So buckle up, brace for impact, and get some earplugs. Thank you, Moen After Dark. Thank you so very much. Marcus Williams is in the house. The Evil Badger, Jeff Olson. Wisconsin Bias on the good side. Jared Jones, you are the man, Moen. You are the man. The other Gygax is in the house. Maybe the NFL Hall of Fame is looking at what he did in Cleveland and without Brady. Okay. But even then, Bud Grant, the Minnesota Vikings head coach, went 0-3 in the Super Bowl, and he's still in the Hall of Fame. Without Frank Tarkenton, he never went back to the Super Bowl. I mean, Belichick, I do not know how you do not vote him in. I don't get it. Heartbreak 25 is in the house. Florida Man is here. Smile time. He did not make it the first time because he cheated. Same reason all those great hitters in the 90s haven't been admitted into the Hall. Because they cheated. It matters. How old are you, Greg? I am 57 years old. 57 going on 77. 57 going on 77. Greg, you're right about Pete Rose. Thank you, Bob. I think we're in the minority, but I do appreciate it. Christopher Hooter. The old guys are showing up here. The old guys in the PATC family are showing up and showing out. They understand what Pete Rose was as a baseball player. Charlie Hustle. Charlie Hustle. Pete Rose should absolutely be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you for the $2 holler, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it. Appreciate the generosity so very much. We happen to agree. We happen to agree. Don't forget Roger Clemens. Yes. Yes. Look, if you're cheating during your career, you should be caught. There should be a suspension. If you do it again, you should have another suspension. If you do it again, you should be thrown out. But if baseball or college football or whatever doesn't have the guardrails or the punishment or the enforcement, if you're able to have a career worthy of a Hall of Fame, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who cheated in baseball. In other words, took steroids. That never was accused of it, never was caught of it, had great careers of it. I just think you got to go back to what they did in between the lines and put it up on how many times they got suspended or how many times they failed the drug test or whatever, how many times they cheated and looked at practice when they shouldn't have, or deflated footballs or whatever it is, write it up on the big old plaque or next to the plaque and next to the statue. But the statue should be in the Hall of Fame. Wait, I thought Greg was AI. Well, Troy, you might be onto something. Or you're on something. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. The architect is in the house. Agreed, Greg. Silly season. Silly season indeed. Who else is here? MGC Sooner is in the house. Bimba's Disney Lines, Anus. Bimba 75, 79. Pete Rose was great. The Big Gun Shop is here. The Almighty is here. Jose. Barry Bonds did it the right way. Test Subject 38. Major League Baseball didn't mind those guys doing roids and bringing fun back into baseball after the strike years in the 90s. They only took it serious after the ratings came back. All right, here we go, guys. I appreciate it so very much, Moen and Ricky Tungate. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you, Bill G. All right. We'll get back to your comments and your super chats and your phone calls later in the program. Let me check something here. I am working on. We're working on a story, which I'm going to bring up. I'm not embargoed. I am not embargoed from bringing this up, so I'm going to bring it up. Just give me a moment. Please give me a moment. Please give me, I know people get mad. People write things in the chat room. Greg, you're being unprofessional. You are correct. You are correct, but we're live. This is a live program. If I get something even more, I'm going to add it to this live program. So be patient. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's not. Hold on. Okay. So, there is steam at this point. We're going to call it steam. It's definite steam. I think we're going to find out shortly. Well, I'm talking about definitely within the next month, most likely within the next couple of weeks. There are some football programs in the Power Four that are talking to other football programs in the G6 about playing a spring scrimmage. a spring scrimmage. What we've been told is a couple of items. One is this is back on the burner. Remember Deion Sanders talked about Colorado, and I believe it was going to be Colorado and Syracuse, right? Deion Sanders, Fran Brown. I think it was Fran Brown, correct? This is back on the table for a couple of reasons. One is you do not have the spring portal. Supposedly, I'm not promising anybody a rose garden here. Supposedly, you're not going to be able to leave your team if you're a football player. You're not going to be able to jump into the portal. You're not going to be able to change teams. It's over. The portal is over. Supposedly, and still, unless somebody comes out and, and their agent and and then we go to the courts and blah blah blah. But for 99% of the players and schools, it looks like you're not going to be able to leave. You are bolted in. If you go during spring camp and you thought you were going to be the backup safety, strong safety, and you find out that the true freshman who's an early enrollee is basically better than you, and now you're third on the depth chart, don't think you're going to be able to leave. So that has made a spring football game with more seriousness. That has become the option that some programs are looking at. The second item on this steam is that, and look, obviously we do not have the whole story, number one. Obviously the story is probably going to grow, number two, and maybe we got part of the story wrong. But what we are hearing, limited stuff right now, is it could be a Power 4 program talking to a Power 4 program. That could be going on. But the few examples that we have heard, it just happens not to be, or it's not happening anywhere. But what we have heard so far is Power 4 versus a G6. Now, that might not end up being what happens. That might end up being, if we do have some scrimmages against two competing football teams, maybe the majority of them are going to be P4 versus P4, if we have any of them at all. But the few examples that we have been given information on, it has been Power 4 versus G6. And the G6 program goes to the Power 4 campus and they play the football game. One of the schools is, Deion Sanders could be leading the charge on this again, but we just have not, Colorado has not been brought up to us. Colorado has not been brought up to us. But they very well could be talking to somebody right now. Obviously, at this point, we got a very small window into this. But talks are happening. There is at least a couple of G6 programs that we know are talking, that they want to go to another campus, they want to get paid some money, they want to send their players there. One of them is Texas State. And there is a couple of them in the MAC. And I am going to choose at this point not to talk about the couple of teams in the MAC conference. And there is an underlying reason to that, and I can't get into that. I'm not embargoed. I'm not being told no. But right now, I want to hold that close to the vest for reasons I will explain later. Texas State Bobcats is a team that has been in consultation with a Power 4 program. There's a couple of MAC schools that have been in consultation, talking to Power 4 programs. And I will say that Syracuse, we haven't heard anything about Colorado. They're probably in the talks. But Syracuse is most definitely talking to some G6 programs. One of them, and there's another school in the Sun Belt. So that's about as loose as the information that I'm going to get today on this. Syracuse, we're going to mention by name. Texas State, G6, we're going to mention by name. A couple of teams in the MAC conference and a team in the Sun Belt conference. And there's probably a handful of more. Now, when I received this information, I said, when are we going to hear about it in public? And the answer was, when the dam breaks, if it breaks. There is still some. It has to be allowed. You can't just do it. It just can't flip on the switch. I don't exactly remember the reasons for them pushing back on Syracuse and Colorado. One of the reasons was, and it was reminded to me by the person who told me this, it was because it was happening too late in the spring cycle. Like, it should have been brought up earlier. But there was other reasons for that. You're not giving other programs an opportunity to do this. Players would get paid supposedly extra. It would be a sponsored scrimmage by somebody. So there are people seriously talking about this. My question, Syracuse talking to Buffalo? I cannot confirm nor deny, but I will say this, and let me ask you this question. Would you want your program, if you are a Power 4 program, would you want to have your game scrimmaged, your spring game scrimmaged against the G6 program? Would you want that to happen? What if you're a Big Ten team and you go play Eastern Michigan and it's on the Big Ten network? All these spring football games from the Big Ten are on the Big Ten network. Do you want your Illinois team playing Eastern Michigan? What if you don't look all that good? What if you lose that football game? Now, it doesn't matter. It should not matter. It probably won't matter. But again, what if you don't look good and suddenly people are down and you don't get those? And I'm not picking on Illinois. We'll pick on Minnesota. What if Minnesota goes against Western Michigan, PJ Fleck's old hunting ground? Western Michigan comes up to Huntington Bank Stadium. It's windy and cold in April. And Western Michigan just lays it on the Gophers. Is that going to hurt tickets, season ticket sales? Like, people re-upping on their... what if it just lays a wet blanket over everything? And of course, what if one of your players get injured? But you always have that worry. You can't play football constantly worried about injury. You've got to hit, you've got to tackle, you got to practice, you got to go through the reps, or you're going to get injured anyways when the season, But do you want your team as a Power 4 program to play a spring game? And if you are a fan of a G6 program, do you want your team to play a Power 4 program in a spring football game? Do you want that to happen? What if you get shellacked? Now, if you go and you play good, it looks good, and your spring game is on the SEC network, or it's on the ACC network, or it's on the Big Ten network, or your spring game is on ESPN Plus against a Big 12 team. Would you like that as a James Madison? Would you like that as a Marshall? Would you like that as a University of Louisiana Monroe? Would you like to see your team play against a Power 4 football program in a spring scrimmage? Now, that's going to take away your spring game, probably, at your campus. So let me know what as a Power 4 program, as a G6 program, would you like to have your team play in these spring scrimmages against another program? It is being talked about. But for it to happen, it's got to be allowed. And I think we're going to hear more about it in the next couple of weeks. Most definitely. In public. If I was a Big Ten coach, I would scrimmage against Eastern Michigan. I would throw the game just like Chuck Daly did with the 19-2 Olympic team against the college kids. That's true. Spring expedition would be a third string and fourth string to get evaluated. Go Black 45, things might change in the next 3 to 5 years. The G6 will get less chances to get money from the Power 4. Movie Time Blues, just don't keep score in the scrimmage. Problem solved. Well, but if you're a fan watching it, you're kind of keeping track anyways. I don't know. AMAC, it should be P4 versus P4. Or G6 versus G6. Maybe that's a way to get it done. Scrimmage game will not stop ticket sales in the fall, regardless if you win or lose. Chris Kinney, 100%. G6 FCS game should only be scrimmages. There's zero reason 1/4 of the P4 schedule should be against opponents where you're favored by 20 or more points. Bob Swanger, I think spring scrimmages could hurt the G6 getting players poached later. But it would be later after next season. Because you're not going to be able to poach, supposedly, now that the portal has closed. Supposedly, allegedly. Eastern Michigan just dog walks the Gophers. PJ Fleck can say, well, we just took it easy on those guys. That's true. And of course, I would buy it. I would buy that excuse. Vox Quindaro, auto-tune Flugar doorbell coming soon. Online orders only. Wow. Do I need an auto-tune? Am I really that bad? Am I that bad a singer? Have I completely lost it? Okay. All right, so I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. And now let's get to a very generous super chat from Christopher Huda. $2 holla. What's up, Rutgers? How is that possible? Those deficits, yearly deficits, are crazy. And that complete debt is massive. Over $560 million in debt. The athletic department in this last fiscal year that's been reported, what was it, 79, 78, $77 million, $76 million deficit. Obviously, that cannot continue. And I do not know what is going on at Rutgers. I mean, this has been snowballing on them. We talked about it on Wednesday's live show. They have a massive expenditure. They have a massive debt payment number that they got to pay every year. And that is one huge expenditure that they cannot get away from. And that number has not been going down. So other than that, I really don't know. I don't know why they're spending at the rate they are spending. It is. I should probably do an episode on that, and I think I will. I'll write that down here. I'm going to take a look at that, do an episode on that. I thank you, Christopher Hooter, for the $2 holler. I really do not have an answer on that, other than the debt. They have such a massive debt to begin with, and it's, the debt expenditure. Pitt reported a deficit of $78 million for last year. But they don't get Rutgers Tier 1 money. Right? Definitely got to talk about Rutgers. Yeah, we do. Where's their money going? I have no idea. Thank you, Don Scruggs. I appreciate it. I appreciate the little white lie that Don Scruggs puts out there in the chat. You have a great gospel singing voice, Greg. I appreciate that. Okay, Brett McMurphy. Some of you are mad at this. Big Ten, bad boys, not nasty boys, bad boys. Janet Jackson in the PATC world. New single out now. Brett McMurphy. We're going to go through this article pretty quickly. I'm going to skip some parts of it. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and then we're going to open up the phone lines, super chats, comments. Here we go. The Big Ten and the SEC demanded power to determine the college football playoff format, but can't come to a decision. Even though all 10 conference commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua preferred the college football playoff to expand next season, the college football playoff announced last week that the current 12-team playoff format would continue in 2026. Everyone wants more teams in the playoff, but they're staying at 12 teams. Why? Why? Well, the official reason, said college football playoff director Rich Clark, is this gives the management committee additional time to review the 12-team format so they can better assess the need for the potential change. While they all agree that the current format has brought more excitement to college football and was given more schools a real shot in the postseason, another year of evaluation would be helpful. There's a big problem with this comment. The deadline to change the college football playoff format for 2027 is December 1st of 2026. So that deadline pops in before the college football playoffs is even going to begin in 2026. So you're really not going to be able to, you're not going to have more data to review. This year doesn't give you more data because the playoffs this year would not have even started unless they move the deadline again. So I'm not buying Rich Clark's official explanation. I think we just got two conferences that cannot agree. Back to Brett McMurphy. That reason, and how can I put this, is BS. Look, don't blame Clark. He's just the messenger. The blame lies directly with the two, the Big Ten and the SEC, or the SEC and the Big Ten if you prefer. Nearly 2 years ago, college football's two behemoths demanded and received control to determine the future of the college football playoff. Give us the control, they said, or something to that effect. We demand it, we deserved it, or we'll huff and we'll puff and we'll blow down every conference's house down. Once officially granted the power, the two held countless meetings and discussions in their advisory groups, yet they hadn't made any progress. The two wanted the power to make a decision, an industry source told On3, and now they can't even come to a decision. It's disgusting, another source said. The Big Ten wants a 2014 playoff, which includes multiple automatic bids for the power leagues and the ability to stage play-in games. The SEC wants a 16-team playoff with 5 automatic bids for conference champions and 11 at-large bids. The SEC and the Big Ten wrestled the power away and now have fumbled the opportunity to expand to 16 or more teams, a source said. Not that it matters, but the remaining 8 leagues also prefer the SEC 16-team model, but they are a silent majority. All right. Not that it matters, but the remaining 8 leagues also prefer the Southeastern Conference 16-team model, but they are the silent majority. I've reported this before, and I'm going to report this to you now. That is the official position of those other conferences. But there are leaders, there are coaches, there are athletic directors that would rather have the 24 team over the 6 team. And it is a growing minority. It is, guys. The G6 programs would love to have 2 teams in the playoffs, not 1. They would have a guarantee of 2 if we went to a 2014 playoff. ACC and Big 12 schools, some of them favor this. Some of them favor the 4-4-4-4-2-6. Of course they do. The official position, though, is different. And I believe that has a lot to do with this, with ESPN's stranglehold on these conferences. Just like part of the reason, and we'll get to it later, part of the reason why the Big Ten wants a 24-team playoff is because that's what Fox would want. That's what NBC would want. That's what CBS would want. We talked about it. We have been transparent here at Peek Around the Corner. Back to the Brett McMurphy article, the Big Ten and the SEC have absolute control over any playoff changes. Total control, no progress, fun times. They basically bolted their way into an agreement that provides them a lion's share of revenue and control of the format, a source said. And yet they can't work together because of their egos. The two's inability to agree on a new format guarantees the 12-team playoff continues in 2026, but with a few not-so-subtle changes. And we're just going to skip over it. We've been through the subtle changes. We know what they are. Notre Dame, if they're in the top 12, they're in. Top-rated G6 program, they're in. And the Power 4 conference champions, they're in no matter what they're ranked. So we're going to skip all that. What will the playoff look like in 2027? That's undetermined. The announcement that the 2026 playoff would remain at 12 teams is only for the 2026 season. It's a 1-year extension that also screws the non-playoff bowls trying to secure and extend one-year title sponsorships. Not that they care. And by the way, there is a looming story out there. A looming story out there about the difficulties that the now newly configured Pac-12 conference, what are their bowl tie-ins? Where would a first place Washington State go? Or a second place San Diego State go? Where would a Boise State go? Where is the bowl tie-ins for the newly configured Pac-12 conference? That's a looming story that we're going to have to talk about, and the country is going to have to talk about here in a little bit. The two now has a December 1st, the Big Ten and the SEC, December 1st, 2026 deadline to make any changes to the 2027 playoff. Yes, the deadline to change the 2027 playoff is before they will have a chance to see how the 26 playoff version plays out. I just said that. I said that early on. That's the ultimate chef's kiss after 2 years of puckering up to the two. So there is Brett McMurphy's article. So again, right? The story is, why can't the SEC and the Big Ten, why couldn't they compromise? Selfishness, greediness. They're saying that it's egos. Right? The ego of the SEC and the ego of the Big Ten. Brett McMurphy also said that the two teams, the non-members of the Big Ten and the SEC are getting pissed off. They're getting frustrated. And they should be, no question about it. But if you read this article and others, basically the commentary is the following. The Big Ten and the SEC, they should have been able to put away their egos and make the deal. What deal? If you dig a little bit deeper, they're basically saying, well, everybody wanted a 16-team playoff but the Big Ten. Everybody wanted the playoffs but the Big Ten. The Big Ten is truly the ones that is stopping progress, that is stopping from going to 12 to 16. Because everyone knows that 24 is absolutely ridiculous. Josh Pate, Brett McMurphy, Reese Davis, all of them, they all say the same thing. Except for the captain of the Army of 24, the fat guy from Minnesota. And I've given you my reasons why I believe 24 is the perfect number. It's 16 doesn't quite do it in this new world of college football. So basically they're saying, the SEC, everyone agrees with the SEC, but the Big Ten, why didn't the Big Ten compromise? If you cut to the chase, why didn't the Big Ten compromise? I tell you why they did not compromise. One, yes, the Big Ten is the vessel of the proxy war going on between Fox and ESPN. SEC is the vessel of the proxy war for ESPN, and the Big Ten is the vessel for the proxy war for Fox Sports and CBS and NBC and Peacock and the Big Ten Network. The Big Ten and the SEC have completely different visions although I think they're going to probably end up at the same spot. But the Big Ten has to satisfy more parties than SEC. But don't get it twisted. The Big Ten has more entities, more parties to satisfy, but the Big Ten believes they are constructing their conference in the correct way. Maybe they're not, but they believe they're going down the right path. Multiple different media partners, growing relationships in a national conference, completely different than what the Southeastern Conference is doing. The Big Ten wants play-in games. The Big Ten wants multiple AQs for the conference. Not because they don't believe they're going to have enough teams to get to the playoffs or compete in the play. They want the value that playoff format would create for the conference. They want to have a big old regular season and then a play-in games this is to decide in the conference if you get the AQ, and if you lose that play-in game, you might get one of those 6 at-large spots if you had a great regular season. But they want the play-in games. And they want an AQ. They want more teams involved in the conference race, and they believe their value is going to be jacked up. And the Big 12's value is going to get jacked up. And the ACC's value is going to get jacked up if they have the same 4 AQs and play-in games. And they want their media partners, of course, to be able to have these extra content, these extra games on their networks. But there's also another reason why the Big Ten wants to go down this road. And it is something that everybody's a little bit afraid of. Everybody's a little bit afraid of it. I think it's the case. The Big Ten is they're coming at it from a little bit of a more radical position than the old comfortable Southeastern Conference is something that everybody can relate to. A one-region conference. Big Ten is set up completely different. Someday the Big Ten might want to go into pods. Someday they might want to have a pod champion become one of the 4 AQs. A champion pod game. Whatever. They got so many more different options when there's a 24-team playoff and a 4-4-4-4-2-6. The Big Ten wants to expand. They want to expand. And they're looking at their last expansions, and they're all sitting around at a table and they're going, well, hell, this worked. And people are saying, you can't expand anymore, Big Ten. You can't, you're going to lose value. Your teams are going to get a smallest slice of the pie. You've all heard this before. Just like we can't expand the playoffs from 4 to 8 or 4 to 10 or 4 to 12 because we're going to lose value in the regular season. None of that has turned out to be true. The Big Ten is just more, and nobody wants to use this term because everyone looks at the Big Ten as this elitist conference. They are elitist academic, and they are. But the Big Ten in reality, the first one to create the Big Ten Network, the first one to really go national, the first one to support a 2014 playoffs, the first one truly to get this close to a massive public capital deal. The Big Ten are radicals. They're coloring outside of the lines. And they continue to do it. And Tony Petitti is the one that really wants to push it. Coloring outside the lines is the bad boys. In the college football reporters, and I like a lot of them. I like them. I like most of them. I disagree with them. I agree with them. I disagree with them. I agree with them. But a lot of them are from the world of, well, you don't color outside the lines, and the Big Ten are. The Big Ten contracts. They're different than the other conferences. How the Big Ten pays their student athletes. The schools basically have to report their rev. The conference knows every rev share budget in the conference. Like the Big Ten does a lot of things different. And they want to do more different things. And they have a big, massive conference, national conference. And it's hard to keep everybody in line, to get everybody in the same. And they've got media partners. And they're going to have another, I believe they're going to 4. Now, they have more than 3 media partners right now, if you want to consider Peacock, which is in the NBC family. But they're going to go to a 4th major one next media negotiations. They're going to bring on a major streaming giant. So they want to get bigger. They want to get more flexible. They want to have more options. They want playing games. To go back to Brett McMurphy's article and what we're talking about, the Big Ten did not want to compromise. Because if they compromise, it sounds great that they should have compromised. I get it. They should have, everybody agrees with the 16 team, 5 plus 11, although not everybody in those conferences agree, but whatever. The reason why the Big Ten did not want to compromise is because they did not want to get stuck. And that word, that phrase is missing in this article and every other article out there. It's missing in the Pat Forday article. The Big Ten did not want to compromise because they did not want to get stuck in a 16-team playoff that goes on for another 4 or 5 years. And the SEC did not want to get stuck for the next 5 years, even though they sort of are anyways. But there's a belief that these conferences can get out of it. But that's the subject for another day. The SEC didn't want to get stuck by committing themselves to go into 16 for a couple years and then launching into a 2014 playoff with a whole new distribution model, a whole new commitment, whole new contracts, and letting Fox into the party, letting CBS into the party, letting Amazon in the party, letting Netflix in the party. The SEC did not want to do that because they don't want to get stuck. So they did not compromise. They did not compromise. So is it egos? All right, yeah, there's a lot of ego going on in the Big Ten. There's a lot of ego going on in the SEC. Did they fight for this extra power to make a decision? Yes, they both did. And they both got that extra power. But I happen to believe that because the Big Ten and the SEC got that extra power, if they would agree on the next college football playoff format, because the Big Ten and the SEC got that extra power, they were able to increase their distribution money. Next year, 2026, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to grab 58% of the money created by the college football playoffs and distribute it among their teams in the conference. That is more, way more than they're getting now. A way bigger percentage. Because they were successful in their power game, where greed is in play, where egos are in play, where they're using the power that they have because they were successful. Now they're doubling down. And now they're tripling down. And that is why, once again, the fat guy from Minnesota, the Paul Revere of college football, but a horse, there ain't a horse big enough or strong enough to keep me up on the horse without his legs collapsing. That's why I've been yelling and screaming the power of consolidation, the economics of consolidation. It is all pointing in one direction. And we're going to fight it every second, every day here at Peek Around the Corner. A 2014 playoff, a 4-4-4-4-2-6 binds the conferences and the G6 together. And I think it would be so successful that you're not going to be able to reverse it. But the SEC don't want to go down that road. The compromise was not available. Egos, yes. Greed, yes. But they've already, how do I say it? I'm going to say it this way. I'm going to say it this way. The Big Ten, I think, and you know, I see people write things on X, college football reporters, college football influencers, college football YouTube channels. They keep writing things about how the Big Ten, well, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go to that extent. They're not going to go there. They're not going to, you know, there's a lot of people that keep trying to put up a wall between the Big Ten and what they might do next, right? And a lot of it, the reaction is, no, they won't do that. They're not going to think about that. They're not really thinking about that. But the reality is, yes, they are thinking about that. They are positioning themselves. They are looking at expansion. They are wargaming everything out. They have things in mind and how the next media rights is going to be structured. I have teased you all. And it's a tease because I don't really know more. I really only have an inch level understanding of this. But the relationship between Fox Sports and the Big Ten is going to change. I don't know how it's going to change. I don't know at the level, but something is happening there. So going back to what I previously said, the Big Ten is making a lot of people nervous. The Big Ten is making a lot of people nervous. It's making the Southeastern Conference nervous. It's making the ACC nervous. It's making ESPN nervous. It's making Paul Feinbaum nervous. So, I would not feel comfortable in putting a limit on the Big Ten's radicalization. They become radical. So, anyways, I think people are, and I definitely know that the chatter behind the curtain is thinking that as well. And I don't think they like it. And I don't know if I like it. But and going back to a story last week or earlier this week, we do know that in the Big Ten, led by President Carter of Ohio State, President Carter, and Petiti, they're looking at They're still looking at the modernization of the Big Ten. They're still looking at organizing a for-profit entity. Not the UC investment deal, but something else. They're working on that. And that's, you saw how the reporters reacted to the last attempt by the Big Ten. They did not react the same way to the Big 12's attempt, but they reacted harshly to the Big Ten attempt. But that is still going on in Big Ten. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. All right, we'll get to your phone calls. Anything in college football that your heart desires. I believe tomorrow, I'm not sure, but I think tomorrow I'm going to be ranking quarterbacks, Big 12 quarterbacks, I think I'm going to do the Big 12 first. So Saturday's live show, I'm going to have the rankings, how I would rank the supposed starter, the projected starter of the 16 Big 12 starting quarterbacks. I'm going to talk about that. Going to get your feedback. Let me know how wrong I got it once again. So we're going to start with the Big 12 first and then go on to the other Power 4 conferences. And of course, whatever happens during the day, this Friday evening, Saturday morning, we are going to be covering it live on tomorrow's Saturday show. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell because we can come on live at any time. Get yourself notified by ringing the notification bell, smash the like button, share the video. I appreciate it. Let's get to your phone calls. 763-260-1333. The phone lines are open. Talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. Let me know what you're thinking about a potential springtime scrimmages. Do you want your program to do that?
From
Rick, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I hate it when they say that the Big Ten didn't offer a compromise to the 16 because they did with a 4-4, 2-2-1-3. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, they did.
You want the 16, you get it this way, okay? You want to turn it down, you turn down a 16 offer. So let's report it correctly, everyone.
Yeah.
There was a 16 on the table from the Big Ten.
Yes.
Well, who's reporting that?
That's true. That's true. We could have had a 16, but
you couldn't have had it your way.
Yeah. So, the Big Ten has thrown out some options out there, and they've all got shot down.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing. For all the people that hate 24, I'm going to make you happy. We're going to have a 24, and I'm going to make you happy. In the first week, 9 through 24 are going to play. 2 games on Friday, and how many games we got? 8?
2 games on Thursday.
2 games on Friday and 6 games on Saturday.
How about 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, 4 on Saturday?
And 4 on Saturday? Okay, we can do that too.
Yeah.
We can do that too. So here's what happens. All you people that hate 2014 playoff, you take the weekend off. Go do some Christmas shopping. Go out and buy your Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, hey, Rick, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to put that on my X account. I'm stealing that from you, Rick. Just letting you know.
You got it.
Thank you.
You got it.
Wow.
Take the whole weekend off. Do all the things you want to do. And on Sunday night, when you get back from doing all your... I'm sorry, Saturday night, when you get back from doing all you're doing, you're going to have your 16-team playoff.
Wow. I'm definitely stealing that. Rick, I'm going to steal that, and I'm not going to give you any credit. How about them apples?
You own it.
That's brilliant. Oh, I can't wait. Thank you, sir.
Here's the price you have to pay for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Here's the price you have to pay. You, Greg Flugar.
I'll pay the price. What is it?
You know the Miami Hurricanes are dirty. They were dirty to the Badgers, and they were dirty to Duke. Does Greg Flugar want dirty Miami in the Big Ten? Will you compromise your standards?
I'm a little bit more worried about the Duke situation than I am the Wisconsin situation. And that's not because it happened in Wisconsin. It just was before the contracts, became really legitimate, even in the eyes of all the teams that are participating.
But this is between you and Miami.
Yeah, if it's between me and look, I would want to sit down with Miami, and I want to make sure that whatever they do, their actions follow the same actions as all the Big Ten schools. And of course, so I'm definitely not going to sit here and say, no, I don't want Miami. I'm not going to say that. But
you would ignore their history.
Huh?
You would ignore their history.
I'm not, I don't want them to be guilty of possible sins of their past. Only by the grace of God I go forward. So I'm willing to forgive, but I'm not going to forget. I mean, if they're going to come in, they're going to forget about the fat guy from Minnesota. I do not have a vote in it. I just report, but if they come on in, they're going to have to convince the Big Ten presidents that they're willing to play ball, and that's going to be a hurdle they're going to have to jump. And I think it's a bigger hurdle than just taking a step. I think they're going to actually have to jump to make sure they convince the Big Ten presidents that they're serious about following the Big Ten stuff. But then again, the Big Ten's had a lot of scandals within the conference. So again, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want them. I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
All righty. Appreciate the call, sir.
Then I will.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rick.
All right, bye.
Beautiful call. Beautiful phone call by Rick. I am going to steal his. I'm going to steal his line about. I'm going to put it on X. I'm going to say for those who don't want a 16-team, for those who do not want a 24-team playoff but a 16-team playoff, just don't watch the first 4 days of the playoff, the first weekend.
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling. I do appreciate it.
Well, hey, buddy, I hadn't talked to you in a week or so.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Been busy?
I've been busy. You've been busy. We've all been busy.
Okay, we got to catch up here. So 16 versus 24. I agree. It's probably a combination of a proxy war between the networks.
Yeah.
Does ESPN want to share some of the inventory? And where do they find the inventory? I mean, do they have the spots without playing it on a Wednesday night or something goofy?
Yeah.
And maybe do we really want to have a week 0 start? That may be harder than you think.
Yeah, well, no matter what they do, they're going to have to move the calendar up a little bit. Even if they go to a 16-team playoff or we stay at 12, I think it would do the sport good if they moved it up a week or two. But that's just me. That's just me babbling.
Well, a lot of the places, I mean, the semester probably doesn't even start. I mean, up north, when did the traditional semester system fall semester start? Is it Labor Day weekend?
Well, University of Minnesota, which I did not go to because this might shock a lot of you. I did not go to the University of Minnesota because there is no way that I could have qualified to go to the University of Minnesota because I am the original Minnesota moron. But I do believe they don't start University of Minnesota until like the third week of September. And then I might be wrong in that, but I believe that's how it used to be at least. And like they don't start until like the third week of January or second week of January. Now, if there is a University of Minnesota former student that can let me know I got it wrong, put it in the chat room. But Minnesota is a late start in September and a late start in January.
Well, I know the traditional school systems in the north start a little later and end a little later than in the south. In the south, the traditional schools start, in August or whatever, right? And I'm talking about, K through 12 or whatever, and the kids are out in May. Whether you kick that back a month as you get further north, I guess that's a tradition of the old agrarian systems, right? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But so that could be, I mean, if the kids aren't there for another month, how do you push up the start date, right?
What was that?
If enrollment doesn't really start, I mean, for another 2 or 3 weeks, how do you push the start date back? Maybe that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, and then the other question is, if you expand to 16 or 24, does ESPN officially own all the games and they can sublet them out, or they're trying to rally? No, give Fox 3 or 4. I mean, out of the contract, carve it out of the contract. Because that could be a sticky point.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is a sticking point. A lot of this is just a proxy war between ESPN and Fox. Fox wanted to get in to this expanded college football playoffs. They wanted to be a partner in distributing the content. But when they found out that the only possible games they could have gotten was first round games, they could not get semifinal game. They would not get a championship game. ESPN basically said to everybody, we own those big bowl games. We own them for another 6 years. We're not giving that up. Then Amazon and CBS and Fox, they all kind of said, no, then we're not even going to bid on this. And that's why we're not making as much money on the college football playoffs that we first thought we would, because there was not a bidding war, because ESPN basically had control of the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals anyways, because they own the New Year's Six bowl games in the big bowls. So if we extend it out to 23 games in a 2014 playoffs, maybe there's some opportunity for some other media partners to come in and negotiate with ESPN, whatever. But I think that's a large part of this. There is a proxy war going on, and SEC and the Big Ten are being used in that war.
And on a related topic, so you just, a few moments ago before Rick called, you said that the Big Ten wants to negotiate in yet another media partner in their next negotiation round. So bringing it up to possibly 4 or more.
Yes, I think so. Now, maybe just one of them gets switched out, but I think there's a chance there's a fourth one. Yep.
Whereas the SEC is probably going to stay home. right?
Oh, I don't know. I think the SEC might go. I think they're. I think it would behoove Sankey to bring on a new partner. I think it's time to have an official. I mean, besides the Disney, the ABC, ESPN, and subleasing it to having that relationship with TNT, actually bringing on another partner.
Well, the NFL has 32 teams. Of course, this is a little bigger scale.
Yeah.
The NFL. Now, how many? They have all three networks. They have ESPN, ABC.
They got Amazon. Now they got Netflix, so they're up to 5, right?
They got 5. Okay, yeah. So you kind of scale that down to the Big Ten or the SEC, and what's a manageable number? I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, it's whatever can bring the most cash to your conference. If there is enough content at a value that is worth it for another media partner to say, you know what, we're overpaid, we want to get into the Big Ten, we want that to be part of our portfolio, blah, 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 to our national advertisers, to our sponsorships, whatever. It's like, bring in the most money. I think the SEC has shorted themselves. I mean, they've made it. The Southeastern Conference has done a wonderful job at having the highest ratings, and there's one home for everybody to watch it. But they haven't, they probably should be bringing in more money than they are. And they would if they would open up some sort of bidding war for some of their content. I think some media partners are probably going to jump in next time, and I don't think the SEC is going to deny another partner coming in. I think they'll have a long talk with ESPN. That's my guess.
So how did they? Okay, so over the course of a year, so let's go to last year, 2024. Indiana was better than everybody thought they were.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 2024 now.
Yeah.
Okay, you have multiple media partners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, are they picking the games before the year starts? Fox has that one, CBS has that one.
Some of the games, but they have a draft as the season goes on. Sometimes these really good games get on the Big Ten Network, and they were not expected to get on the Big Ten Network. And that creates value for the Big Ten Conference. So they had 10 games of 1 million viewers or more on the Big Ten Network.
Wow.
And that's a record. And, of course, I'm sure the Southeastern Conference Network had more than 10 games of 1 million or more. But they don't have their games Nielsen rated. The Big Ten does, because the Big Ten's looking, once again, they're different. Once again, they're the only conference network that gets their live content Nielsen rated because they want to keep pushing up their ad rates, and they do, and they make more and more money. Again, they think differently than the SEC and the Big Ten are so different in so many different ways. It's fascinating to watch.
Well, and you're my Big Ten guru, right? So on any given weekend, let's say there's only everybody's playing in conference. Okay, yeah. There's 9 games.
Yeah.
How many does Fox have? How many does CBS have? You know what I mean? I mean, how do they do that?
Well, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I mean, Fox will have our main football at Fox Noon. They put a game on Fox Sports 1, right?
Yep.
And there is...
They might have 3.
And sometimes they have a Friday night game on Fox. And, CBS, NBC, Big Ten Network, Peacock.
Yeah, you're there. That's enough. That's your inventory. That covers all the games.
Yeah.
Huh. Is there a Big Ten too, like a spillover network?
There is, but it's not for football.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, it's just with no more networks, you have to kind of who gets what game, right? I could just imagine that can be that can be a little tension or rub.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, great. All right, great picking your brain there.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, sir.
And yet Rutgers, you got to look into that.
Yeah, I will. All
right, I appreciate it, buddy. Okay, talk to you. Okay, bye.
Yeah, beautiful call, Christopher Huda. A lot of people asking about Rutgers. We'll look into that. I've only read the public reports, and again, this has been going on for quite a while, right? Quite a while. Thank you, Chris Kenny. I will.
From
Tristan Fibes.
Tristan 5, the floor is yours. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
Hey, listen, I wanted to piggyback on the last call and the comments you made about the SEC being a little bit underpaid. You're probably right, Greg, but there's a strategy involved here. And to me, it's quite apparent that they're in bed with ESPN because ESPN is the rights holder for the schools in the ACC that the SEC would like to have in their conference. And they've been, carrying out this plan for a while, going back to, I don't even know, I guess they started the SEC network back around, 2010 timeframe. But, doing it this way has gotten them 2 schools in Texas and a school in Oklahoma and a school in Missouri. And they, I guess, are, targeting North Carolina, and it may pay off for them. So ESPN obviously would have some kind of sense of this. I would think, right? The SEC is making a little bit less money so that they can get the schools that they want. And so I think that if there's a realignment situation that occurs and the SEC gets, let's just say hypothetically that they get 4 schools and it's North Carolina and Virginia, it's the big scoop like you were saying, and then later on they get Clemson and Florida State, then I think at that point all bets are off. ESPN's really going to have to outbid some folks for the SEC the next time the contract comes up after that. Because I think that's the whole point of them playing nice with ESPN, so they can get a leg up on these schools that they want in their conference. What do you think?
There might be something to that. Now, I want to make it clear, the SEC is making a whole lot of money, and I said, I've been saying this for a few months. The next reports that come out, you're going to see a big jump in money made from the SEC athletic departments, and you're starting to see that. The SEC makes massive amount of money. Their conference payouts, if they're still short of the Big Ten, they're just a little bit short, and they're going to be going by the Big Ten here in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and the big difference, Greg, and I don't know if you've talked about this on one of your shows, but the big difference is their Tier 1 is taking a big jump. They were under that $55 million a year contract.
Yeah, and it's massive.
Yeah.
Yep. All that
Has that been reported yet? Do we know what the numbers are on
I
that?
think it I think this right now, and the revenue numbers are out there, kind of, sort of. We're probably be getting we always get that USA Today article that comes out and says this is the revenues that the athletic departments made, and I think this is the first time the reports are going to cover the time when the SEC enjoyed the bump of CBS not being their Tier 1, but now ABC, ESPN is their Tier 1. Now, there's a lot of caveats to it, just like the Big Ten payouts. ESPN, they're not paying out Oklahoma and Texas like they will be in the future. That's why you saw a report today that Oklahoma was like $40-some million in debt because they got shortchanged on the revenue. Okay? But that was a 1-year deal. Next year, Oklahoma's going to be not $40 million in debt. And they knew this was going to come. Same thing with Texas. Anyway, my major point is, I think you're the SEC is making a whole lot of money, just as much as the Big Ten, if not more, here in the very short term. But I do think that going forward, I would be shocked if the SEC does not include another media partner, because I think they're going to expand, and I think they're going to include another media partner, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was a major streaming partner like a Netflix or something to that effect.
Yeah, well, Greg, I remember, I think it was about a year ago, wasn't there a story about TBS giving up on the NBA? And then wasn't there some speculation that ESPN might work a deal with TBS to give them some SEC inventory?
Yes, Warner Brothers Discovery, they did not want to give up on the NBA, but the NBA chose to go in a different direction.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I think there's like a sub license type of deal going on, but ESPN is still going to control that content. And I'm talking about like a whole new media partner that's going to bid against other media partners for SEC content, and somebody's going to win that content, and they're going to market it and advertise it, and they're going to get a whole bunch of national advertisers. And I think this is what I think is going to happen. I might be wrong, but I think the Southeastern Conference is going to go through a transformation, and part of that is, of course, ESPN is going to be their primary content holder, but something else I think is going to come up in all this. I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, Greg, I look forward to the day when ESPN doesn't own the SEC completely.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get some unbiased reporting and commentary and so forth, because their influence has just been ridiculous. You know, the things that have happened in the last few years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the SEC, they probably do. I agree with you. They do need another media partner just to max out their revenue. I mean, gosh, the Big Ten did the smart thing. You know, they took it. How many media partners did they get in their last deal? Was it 3 or 4?
Well, they got Fox, they got CBS, they got NBC, and of course Peacock is part of NBC, and Big TN is a part of, Fox owns 61% of that. So I guess you can still call it 3, but,
yeah, depending on how you define it, it might be more, but yeah, whatever.
I guess you would say 3, yep.
Okay, well, that's good. This is all I wanted to point out, was that there's a strategy with the SEC being in bed with ESPN. And that has a time limit, As soon as they get whatever schools they want, and ESPN greases the skids to make that happen, the next media contract, all bets are off.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I'll catch up with you later.
You got it. Appreciate it, buddy.
Right. Bye-bye.
Beautiful call. Breaking news. The great Matt Baker. The College Sports Commission has opened an investigation into LSU over potential unreported NIL deals. The Tigers are the first known program under an inquiry from the new enforcement body. We're going to be covering this later tonight in an episode or early tomorrow morning. No question about it. LSU is the first, but they're not going to be the only. They're not going to be the only. And again, silent Greg Sankey. Is he going to say anything about it? He probably shouldn't right now, obviously. He probably shouldn't. But LSU, did this happen under Lane Kiffin? Probably not. It probably happened under the previous head coach, Brian Kelly. And remember, Brian Kelly gave up some of his own money, right? His head coach contract money to help the NIL situation at LSU. I don't know. Maybe it is right now because, I don't know. I'm not going to look through the article right now, but the College Sports Commission has opened an investigation into LSU over potential unreported NIL deals. Breaking news here at College Football Peek Around the Corner. I want to thank Ricky Tungate, Bill G, Mowing After Dark, and LSU Tiger Christopher Hooter for your super chats, massive super chats from Moen and Ricky Tungate. Thank you so very much. Thank you for your support, for helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. I want to thank the callers, Rick and Tristan Five and Christopher Hooter, incredible callers of our channel. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I thank you all for calling. I thank you all for checking us out. And again, buckle up and brace for impact. Tomorrow we're going to be going on live on a Saturday live show, College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Then make sure you're able to watch it, subscribe to our channel, ring that notification bell. And if you can, please, if you've liked our content today, smash the like button, share the video. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gopher.